All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Musihiwa. I'm based in Kadoma, Zimbabwe, to be specific. Or if some of you may know Sanyati, yeah. So that's the district where I am from. I'm here to introduce to you Finaliters. So this is the project that you've been waiting for years. It's finally done. Primarily, I'm the system architect and founder, and at its core, it's meant to be a decentralized exchange for the creator economy. So, uh, I'll get straight to the point. So, what we realized, me and my peers, especially in the music industry, because I've been in the music industry since 2006, when I was first introduced to a keyboard. Um, these were lingering observations for years, where I realized that the economy for creators is booming, but the industry in itself is a bit fragmented. There is no unified framework on which value can be created. Because if you were to say we are creating value, there needs to be constraints. So, constraints are the ones which create value. So, what kind of constraints need to be engineered around the creator economy? So, if you look at the general production process, let's say you're a musician, you imagine yourself as having created a particular permutation of some melody. Then you run that melody through your producer, and he sort of reproduces it in a kind of quasi creative way. Then you would say you have created a beat. Then, following that, you then maybe write your lyrics on it, or maybe you don't. You are one of these prodigies in the industry, like Soldier Love, etc. People who can just outrightly hop in and do something unique. So the platform now is there to help you to question this. Even though you have produced your beat, are you for certain sure that you have not plagiarized? I'm sure that you have, over the years, heard of lawsuits in the USA about artists who are famous who have been sued over content plagiarism. Like somebody can wake up, imagine themselves as having created, yet they are actually copying. So this unauthorized copying, even though it's seemingly innocent, it hurts the entire industry. Why? Because there is no recognition of the one who has invented or truly engineered the unique permutation which you are all interested in. And that is where we are coming in. We are saying that even though you are claiming that you have produced something interesting, why not simply verify that you have not plagiarized works of other artists? I'm sure you've heard of the Blade Line saga, where Pharrell Williams and Robin Thicke were sued for 7.5 million US dollars and 50% of future royalty on the Marvin Gaye plagiarism of the particular melody for their song, Blade Lines. So we are there to do a global search for your melody. So the technique which we use is quite interesting, which I'll talk about later. So there's broken infrastructure for the creators. The creator economy is booming, but the plumbing underneath it was built for a pre-digital and a pre-mobile world. Musicians, broadcasters, and social creators are still being shortchanged by systems that were never designed for them. So, if you are somebody who is probably operated on YouTube, you realize that you lose at least 40% of what is truly due to be earned by you, and even then it's little. So there are a lot of questions. Who prices the content? Who is there to manage the process by which your particular production is recognized by the industry? So we as Finaliters realize that there can be more that can be done along that end. So in addition to that, we also realize that there's unverified digital use. So people still use your music. You put in so many hours and thousands of dollars in producing a particular permutation or a particular song, only to realize that that effort is not bringing any return to you as somebody who has created, even when you are supposedly producing something truly unique in the industry. It's very difficult for you to verify who's using your content. There are millions of channels on YouTube, and there are hundreds of thousands of broadcasters globally. So how do you get your content out there? At the same time, I realized that there's fragmented monetization. Micro influencers lack a transparent marketplace to sell their digital real estate. Another angle which is fascinating and probably unique to Finaliters is our recognition of the fact that for content creators, probably I might just call them artists in general, or on Facebook, somebody could be commanding 100,000 followers, 50,000 followers, but what they are earning through the channel is not worthwhile. So what do we do about that? As you later on will realize that there is much more power which you command. Probably some have realized already, and they are starting to monetize that within their network, people approaching them directly. But even then, that exposure is limited, which is where we come in. So what is our response to all these inefficiencies that exist in the industry? So Finaliters runs on a proprietary Vericx engine. Vericx in itself is more like shorthand for verified and cryptographically signed. So it's an engine, a system that listens for how music and content is actually used in the real world, then pays creators instantly and transparently for it. So, product, price, process. You are the owner of your product. We are giving you power to price your product, and we are giving you the tools to manage the entire process, which is where Vericx at its core will be serving you. So some of the tools which we'll be using are stochastic structural fingerprinting, which is an industry or a stream of techniques which emerged around 2001 for summarizing content digitally. For example, we can take your audio, then summarize it, come up with a unique fingerprint. I'm sure you've heard of a fingerprint. A unique fingerprint is more for identifying the content, what is actually contained in the instance of your production. I'm sure you've heard of ISRC codes which are attached to your music works before they are pushed to the market. We are a little bit different from ISRC because ISRC identifies an instance of your production. In other words, an instance of content. But for us, we are more for content of an instance, in addition to instance of content. We are interested in the content of the production that you have just made. So what we do is we do these structural fingerprints on the melody, all these variations, timing, beats, to make sure that we come up with a compact signature of what is representing what we have just produced. So when we do that, we then attach your ID to that particular production and do a global search on the production that you've just introduced to the system. When we cannot find reasonable evidence, for us, we are looking for a maximum, initially, a maximum of 25% similarity to existing works. So we do this global search on the entire corpus of music that exists. To do this, we are in partnership with ACR Cloud for that. So we scan hundreds of millions of tracks to make sure that what we have produced, is it truly protectable and monetizable globally? Because we are taking you from the local market to the international market. I'm sure you have heard of Baba Harare at some point. He was trading with Jacaranda Media in UK and was earning thousands of pounds through the channel. So before we introduce you to that market and expose you to the risk of being sued, we want to make sure that there is no reasonable evidence to indicate that you have copied existing works. Because once owners of those productions realize that you are earning enough to be suable, they'll come after you and strip you down. So we want to protect you as you are creating whatever you're creating. So we will be securing the future of performance rights through Edge AI, IoT attestation, and decentralized settlement. So the settlement in itself, it will be instant because we'll be employing the Algorand blockchain, which is something that is not really that important, but this indicates the level of technology that we are approaching this particular system architecture. And we also have unified smart contracts. So whatever deals that we will be facilitating you to make or take on the platform, they will be automated and enforceable as a going concern. There will be no possibility that you will be cheated, because these rules are more like automatic. The entire logic is automated and it will be executed without our control. Once a deal is struck between you and a broadcaster, or between an influencer and a business which is interested in marketing their content on your page, then the enforcement will be automatic, the verification will be automatic through the use of these techniques of fingerprinting. So we can fingerprint your advert, be they pictures, be they videos, and be they audio. We can entirely be there as a form of 360 degree contract attestation for the whole marketing process that will be happening on our platform. So how it works, we detect. So we've got a fast match check which we do on the platform. Like I was saying earlier, you are an artist, you've produced something. We analyze content of that instance of your production. Then we take that summary, conduct a global search, and from that global search, we then certify or tell you that there's been works which have come before that are, let's say, related to your work in a significant way, and you should consider referencing or indicating on the platform that you have derived some of your creativity from their works. Because if you don't do that, then you've exposed yourself to the risk of being sued later. So when the original content owner then comes to the platform, they will find themselves facing a lot of approvals which they need to make on the same system. So some artists don't really favor the entire derivation process. I'm sure you've heard Nicki Minaj has been sued at some point because of these issues which are related to derivation. So we will be interested in making sure that you are protected as an artist. I realized that on Meet I was muted, but don't worry, the entire meeting is being recorded locally, so I'll be uploading. So then comes attestation. So for studios which will be interested in partnering with us, you can operate nodes which will be responsible for this entire induction of content to the system. So if you're a producer, there will be benefits associated with that, of course. So if an artist comes to you and they are interested in certifying their content, then you can facilitate the entire process. So the entire settlement, after you have traded on the system, will be automated. So every cover, re-upload or broadcast is resolved to its original source and rights holder first, closing the gap that lets unauthorized derivation go uncredited and unpaid, which is one of the main issues that we have. So we are giving you power over your product, the entire pricing in itself, and the entire process which is associated with you earning what is due to you. That is all trackable and verifiable through Vericx. So for musicians and artists, how does it really work? So we are aiming at a unified launch, probably South Africa and Zimbabwe. So you may see some of the figures in here in rands, which is still okay, but the figures are not really important. This is more like our least estimate pipeline for launch. So for musicians and artists, you have made the music, you should see what happens to it and get paid the moment it's played, not months later. I'm sure a lot of artists have got grievances with Zemura when it comes to the Zimbabwean context. They may collect millions, or probably hundreds of thousands, or maybe tens of millions, but you do not get to have a say about what happens to that money. On this system, you control everything. You say how much you are paid instantly. If you want to cash out, you get to cash out instantly. If you want to price whatever price you have thought of, then you can do that instantly, and anytime you can alter this pricing. So there's real-time attribution, instant and transparent payouts, and you can monitor your whole catalog for a very small cost. So if you are going to be dealing with ZTV, then you pay as little as $3 a month to monitor ZTV, but it's not entirely limited to ZTV. You can monitor Jacaranda Media in UK. You can monitor any other broadcaster which you are interested in dealing with in an automated fashion. You can bring them to the platform, you automate everything through the system. So if they want to pay you, they can just pay you directly on the system. So how artists earn? 90% of the royalty commission per broadcaster is quite huge. And then there's a range of devices which we are interested in launching. I realize that most of these motorists, people with vehicles, are interested in having to play music in their cars. So having access to the music, it is quite a challenge. They are going to pirates and are paying huge sums, sometimes $5, sometimes $10, just to get the music. And sometimes they lose the music, then repeat. So we are introducing what we call cochlear devices. So these are interesting, like reintroductions of things that we have known before, like the Walkman. So in this case, it will be more like a Driveman kind of device. So it will be downloading the entire corpus of music that you are interested in, whether it's Winky D, Japraiser, Felinandi, etc. It will constantly pull whatever new uploads that they are making, and as you play, you will be paying the rate that will be set. So it's per second billing. It's a very small fee, so it's not something to be really shy of. You realize that for an entire day of play, it may be under 5 cents, almost unrealizable. So that is something that is interesting and something that is unique, and should all go well, it might be an avenue by which you can get to pay ZBC through the content that you are using, or artist through the content that you're using, not an abstract license fee, which can really prove what you used. Well, some people don't really have these radios, but you're paying anyway. So this could turn out to be something that is interesting on the licensing end, because if you are interested in listening to Star FM, through that device, you can tune in to Star FM. Then Star FM will charge you the rate that has been set for Star FM users, and they will stream their income. At the same time, artists will also stream their income through the other avenues. And you have an artist who you're interested in, and once you start playing, the device will log and bill. So it's going to be something as simple as that, like when it comes to consuming content. So in the long run, the goal is to produce a compliant TV, a compliant radio, a compliant phone, and you realize that we can unlock at least $240 million in value when it comes to Zim market alone. For South Africa, that is probably at least 10 times to 30 times bigger. So for broadcasters in smart vehicles, that is the avenue which we are also introducing. So if a broadcaster, I've also realized that for artists who are local, like for somebody who is in Karoma like me, people are really interested in, they will pay pretty much any amount just to make sure that their content or their production gets to radio. So if you're a broadcaster, you can sell airplay. So you can sell airplay to artists, and you can sell airplay to businesses and vehicles. So you can set whatever rate per second, or maybe a flat rate for a certain advert slot. That is up to you. Somebody in Kadoma can simply approach you and pitch their advert or their music to you, and if there is a fee that you need them to pay, then they pay, and then the system monitors your broadcaster to make sure that you have actually broadcasted what they have paid for. Once you pay as an artist, then the system will do the rest for you. If it verifies that a particular broadcast has been made, then deduction from an escrow will be automatic as well. So it will be something that is quite interesting, and will probably relieve the likes of ZBC from some of these income, I would say, income tightening that has been burdening them for years. They get to approach businesses who want to advertise. Like right now, I'm in Kadoma, I want to advertise on ZBC. What is the next step? I don't even know where to start. But there are businesses which are willing to approach the national broadcaster in order to market their content, and they can pay whatever amount, whether it's a bidding market, because these options are there on the system, or whether it's a flat fee that a broadcaster is interested in extracting. So that is up to the likes of ZPC, the likes of ZTN, etc. So there are also applications. I'm sure these days they've launched the ZTN app, and the other application for ZBC streaming. I just forgotten the name, but I have it. Let me just confirm. So the name is Z Plus application. So the ZTN Prime and Z Plus application. So if they are interested in integrating their apps through the Vericx network, then we can do that for them. They just need to give us their current version, and we do the module, and it's plugged in automatically. So anybody who wants to listen to the national broadcaster or to ZTN Prime on the go, then they can simply stream should they want to. So it will just cost a broadcaster a petty sum of $92 per month, and a small percentage, probably 10%, from their income that they earn through the system. So then comes the social creators, the influencers. For $5 a month, if they are interested in having their pages listed, because for businesses these days, they are finding it easier to approach influencers, but influencers are very hard to get to. Sometimes getting to a point where they listen or open your message, that is taking forever. So should an influencer who is as big as Madam Boss be interested in monetizing their page at that level, then all they need to do is employ an office which will be attending to the Vericx orders, then make the required productions through their page. So anyone who's an influencer who is interested in marketing their marketing content for businesses, then businesses can approach influencers through a unified marketplace where they get to see if they are interested in reaching people in, let's say, Gweru, then they go to Gweru, then they can select whatever influencers are in Gweru, or maybe the national influencers who are trending these days, be it Fred's, etc. They can just approach Fred's on the platform. Then Fred's page will be there, and you list the open slots which are available for adverts, because he still has got content to post anyway. So in order to increase his following, he's also engaging his followers. So if people then bid for those slots, maybe the winning bid is $600, then they can lodge the content on the platform. So Fred will then see what kind of content is won the bid, and then work around issues of getting the upload going. So now then comes the Cochlear IoT device range. In summary, to us it will cost us probably $100 to enroll a vehicle, but for content creators which will be leveraging that stream of income, then the carry, the charge will be 30% through that avenue. So be they phones, cars, TVs, etc. That network is a little bit much more expensive to manage, so that's why it costs more. But in time, creators will realize that it's a worthwhile avenue to investigate. So it's a huge marketplace: musicians, artists, businesses, and influencers. So we've got quite a great deal to talk about. So I'm doing this publication as a way to engage the various user categories and to hear what they think about what we are availing to them. So there's a lot that stands to be answered for in terms of questions. So as far as we are concerned, we are ready to deploy, and we actually are looking forward to meeting partners, investors, and social creators. So the system in itself, we've got tokens for the platform. So our platform has got the FEM token. So for the system, these are like the shares for the system, the people financing the infrastructure to be built. So for those investors who are interested in participating, then they can always contact the team through the contacts which you see. I hope that this short presentation has been interesting enough, and I look forward to talking to you all. So for this next part, I'll just be taking you through so that you then get to see the website and how to sign in, etc. So we'll stop here so that we work on the part of getting to introduce the system in itself. There are a lot of features which are on the system. So initially, I hope to engage with influencers and businesses who are interested in marketing, and also artists who are interested in protecting their content. Because once you get your music certified, then you now have a witness who can present to the courts with scientific proof that you are the one who has produced something. So I'm sure a lot of artists have lost some content, probably lost some music along the way. So this is a way to ensure that you can protect your beat, you can protect your songs, because they can be stolen as well. So once it's fingerprinted, then we have the proof. Should the courts be interested in hearing more about what we have to say about the evidence, then that evidence can be availed. We are using industry strength algorithms for this. So it's highly efficient and something that is highly dependable for an economy that is open for business like ours. So thank you very much for taking time to go through this video. I look forward to contacting you as we launch and improve the lives of those who have been marginalized for years. Thank you.